Climate change is a global threat that has the world hanging by a string when it comes to environmental changes, political arguments, and most importantly, global food. The global food system is a system put in place by all countries that has us constantly trading food for commodities. I believe that climate change is one of the threatening subjects to our global food systems, and I plan to explain why this is, analyze historical consequences, and possible solutions to climate change. Climate change is a very large issue in our global food system because it can interfere with transportation, food growth, and wipe out species. Climate change is one of the largest threats to our global food system because it can cause storms that can wipe out cities and food transportation methods. Climate change is the changing weather and climate patterns across the world. These climate patterns can also be drastic storms like tornadoes and hurricanes. Tornadoes and hurricanes can also wipe out both growing fields and ruin transportation methods for food. This is especially a threat in the 21st century with the incline CO2 output. Climate change also directly affects the growing process of food with a more extreme change in climate such as droughts. Droughts are dry periods of time that don't have any rain or moisture that usually results in water shortages. Droughts are clearly not wanted for growing food. That's why we need to do something about this now. Lastly, climate change is one of the largest threats to fisheries, says Duncan Clark from The Guardian. Because some fish are already adapting to the climate change by migrating to higher altitudes, but Arctic fish have nowhere to go. This could be detrimental to our global food system because fish are half the world's population source for protein. Climate change is not new. It has been taken down by many civilizations before. Let's not have it take us down. One civilization that has suffered the dangerous effects of climate change is the Indus civilization. The Indus existed from 2600 BCE to 1800 BCE, and what is now in modern-day Pakistan and Iran. The civilization was doing great until sudden environmental changes occurred like floods, over-salinization, and changing river courses. These environmental changes had left the Indus really weakened, which was perfect for the Central Asian raiders to come finish the civilization off. The Indus weren't able to adapt to these drastic environmental changes. The climate change had ruined their agriculture, which had made it a struggle for existence for the Indus. And another quote that supports my research from Empires of Food by Evan Fraser and Andrew Remas. Climate change, too, is a catastrophe we hold in our common forebears. Instead of blaming sunspots and volcanoes, we have to blame our fossil fuel habits. The Indus civilization ended due to climate change, but that does not mean we need to. Unfortunately, the Indus had fallen, and we were not able to address the situation that led to their demise. Some of the reason the Indus had fallen had been because of their own farming mistakes and methods like moving large amounts of soil. The best way for all the 21st century countries to learn from the Indus is to recognize and analyze the messes we are doing will result to our downfall. The best way to help climate change is to put out less greenhouse gases, which is causing climate change. The best way to reduce the output of CO2 in our atmosphere is to plant more trees, create laws that can significantly reduce CO2 output, and spreading awareness about climate change. Plants are the largest consumers of CO2, so planting more would only help us take in more CO2 and balance out our outputs. Creating laws helps us enforce and limit our carbon output. This just can be enforced to large companies that dispense a lot of CO2. Spreading awareness is one of the most helpful ways to solving the climate change problem. When spreading awareness, it also helps to make consequences of climate change aware, so there's more of a motivation. Overall, it's really important that we focus on having working global food system. Our working global food system won't need to be threatened by climate change. Climate change changes global climate and weather patterns and can cause storms that ruin our food transportation system. Climate change affects fish, which supply 50% of the world's population of protein. Climate change can also cause droughts that leave areas terrible for farming. So my recommendations include planting more trees, enforcing CO2 reduction laws, and spreading awareness. These three solutions can also help solve two sustainable development goals, like life below water and zero hunger. There will no longer be trouble with fisheries because fish will no longer need to migrate and fish won't die in the Arctic. Solving climate change and keeping our global food system alive so everyone who has been eating won't need to go hungry. Now, will we solve climate change to keep our global food system alive?